This video was inspired by one I saw on All Off-Road 4x4 Adventures TV, Stefan Fisher's channel. He had put up a very interesting video about different first aid kits you can get, and this is one he was showing. It's by a company, I think it's called Survival. I'll just check that. I'll put links to Stefan's video down below so you can go and check that out as well. But although we've carried a first aid kit in the 4x4 and in the Coaster for years now, we've never had something that's really comprehensive and something that is compact as well, something that's not going to take up too much room. The bag we had was bigger than these two put together, and actually the one we got in the Coaster is probably a bit bigger than this as well. But I thought for the 4x4, well, why not just spend the money, get yourself a really good kit, and make sure that if something does happen one day, you've got the gear you need. Now what we've got here is both a first aid kit and a snake bite kit. And with it, they've sent a great little booklet. And you can see along the edge there, very easy to find the section you're looking for in a hurry. You don't have to flick through to an index or a contents page. It's all laid out on the side of the book. Now I thought it was probably worthwhile to have a look at the contents of this kit. They come in good sturdy little bags, easy to mount. You've got a little Velcro strap here, you can just clip that onto something. A hanger here, good little handle on top. Now that's nice and lightweight. If you're going bushwalking, you could slip that onto your belt. So that's something I guess that everybody in the bush should be carrying, and it's something we haven't carried for a long time. We've had general first aid gear, but we've never had a dedicated snakebite kit. Now I guess this stuff is like insurance. You pay for it, and it's a little bit painful doing that because this wasn't cheap. It was around the $200 mark for both of them. But if you ever do need it in a hurry, you're going to be very glad you spent the money. That's pretty much the way insurance works, and this, I guess, is a type of insurance. Okay, so let's have a look at what is actually in these little bags. We'll start with the snakebite kit because that has a little bit less to look at. Good sturdy bag. You can slip that through a belt, carry it with you if you go hiking. Got Velcro strap on here. Got a hanger here. Zips are all good quality. And there is your basic snakebite kit. You have two smart bandages. Now a smart bandage has a marking on it. It will show a rectangle, and the idea with pressure bandage is to get it at the right pressure and not over tighten, not under tighten. So when the rectangle that's marked on the bandage turns into a square, you know your smart bandage is exactly the right pressure, and you know you're putting it on correctly. So you have two of those included. You have an information sheet that tells you what to do. You have a pen for recording information. You have some gloves in there for infection control. You have another pressure bandage down here that is meant more for sprains, and you have a splint. Now the idea with the splint is you put it along the limb and wrap it around, as you can see here. So it's a good portable kit, easy to carry with you when you're going bushwalking. Pop it on your belt, and if the worst happens and you happen to get bitten by a snake, you've got the gear to deal with it. We haven't carried one of these for years, and we really should have. We rarely do see snakes. In fact, I've only ever seen one while we've been out bushwalking. But I know for a fact there have been plenty close to me that I've never actually seen. The one thing I would change about this little kit is the colour of the bag. The main reason for that is you can see if that's chucked in with a bunch of other bags. Ideally, I guess you should put it somewhere obvious, but it could be that it's just been popped in somewhere in amongst a bunch of other bags, and that is not the most obvious colour in the world. I would like to see it, if they're not going to make it red, make it bright green, something that stands out, so that in a hurry, when you are in a little bit of a panic and you're looking for it and you don't know where you put it and there's a whole bunch of things all together stuck in the back of your car, it's going to show up. That is not the most obvious colour in the world, so perhaps bright green, bright yellow, something like that that's going to really show up. That would be, I think, a fairly good idea for this. Okay, bag number 2. On the front of the bag you have the ability to get more information with your phone. There's also a little information sheet on CPR, and again on the back, easy ways to mount. That can be carried, I guess, on a belt, but probably unlikely you want to carry that on your belt. They could probably put that through onto a rucksack strap or something like that if you happen to be going on a long hike. Again, little D-rings on the top so it can be hung up. And what we're thinking with this is we're going to find somewhere in the car that's easy to get to and hang it up so it's obvious and easy to find. Nice quality zip again. So let's have a look inside and see what we get. Have a little fold out section here, and as you can see, the kit is pretty well stocked. So let's have a look here. Firstly, you have adhesive band-aids here, a couple of different sizes. There's some wound care antiseptic, so the ends of those snap off and you can just pour that into a wound. Everything nicely labelled again. And as I said with the other one, red is the important stuff, blue are the secondary treatment items, and green is for information. So looking here, we have a pair of shears. There's a little bit of Velcro holding those in place so they're not just going to fall out. Now the reason you've got shears there instead of just scissors is there can be a circumstance where you need to remove someone's clothing very quickly. Perhaps they've got a serious wound, you need to get to it and bind it up. That will help you cut through clothing and get clothing off very quickly. Especially in car accidents and things like that, it can be a case that seconds are very important and access to a wound can be held up if you've got a very small pair of scissors. Next to the shears, we've got some fever strips. You can stick that on somebody's forehead and that will tell you very quickly if somebody has a fever, if their temperature is elevated. You have here some splinter probes. Now I haven't had a look at those to see exactly how they work, but one day I'll get into that and have a look. I've never actually seen those before. I've always just used a needle and tweezers or forceps. There is a set of tweezers included. They have their own little pouch here. Now, they are not very fine needle nose tweezers. Sometimes you need a pair that is very fine. And it's handy to have a bent pair on occasion, so I have put a pair of my own in here as well, and I've just put that in the other side. So that doesn't come with it, but it's easy to add a few little things that you like to carry yourself. At the top you have a little survival booklet. Now it's probably a good idea to take your main first aid guide with you as well. Very handy to have good information, but just in case you don't have space or if you're walking, you do have a booklet there that will help. Also a pen for recording information. Flip that one over, and this section here is for personal gear, labelled as such. Now this is stuff that doesn't come with the kit. I tend to swear by Savlon antiseptic cream for small scratches and rashes and things like that. Excellent stuff. I always carry that with me wherever I go. Another pair of tweezers here, and you can probably see from that they are flat nose tweezers. So they have a very broad surface for picking things out. I have a tourniquet if that's necessary. And we have some headache pills, and to that we would add all our personal medication when we go away, but just the basic stuff in there. On this side, that is something we've added ourselves. It's just a bit of cotton wool for swabs. And you have a cold compress. And again, that's something I've added myself, is just a few cotton buds. Plenty of room in these pouches for a little bit more if you want to add a couple more things. But don't overburden the kit with things you're not going to use. Okay, we'll flip back to this side again. A few sets of gloves here for infection control. There's some hydrogel, that's for burns and scalding. There's a thermal blanket there, used generally for shock or for hypothermia, that sort of thing. Another pouch in the back there if you want to add something. The good thing about this is they don't use up every single space. They leave you a little bit of room for adding some of your own gear, which is quite handy. We have some skin cleaning wipes, some just little sterile wipes, and I won't pull this one out, but that's just a little plastic waste bag, so that as you're tearing things off and pulling things apart later on, when you've got all the first aid seen to, you can put it all together in a waste bag and dispose of it. And then we come to a set of different bandages for binding up wounds. So we have some conforming bandages, we have some pressure bandages. Now as you can see, there is also a smart bandage in here for snakebite. Now if you don't want to carry a separate snakebite kit, this standard kit has one of these bandages anyway. So the main reason you would get the snakebite kit is for when you're walking. You're really not going to carry a big kit like this with you when you go walking. So this is great, and it's good to have a spare. Now another item I put in here myself that I find very useful on occasion is an eye bath. In here you've got some saline solution which will act as an eye wash. And if you get something in your eye, these things are very handy for washing it back out very quickly. Usually before it gets under your eyelid, if you've got access to this, it will clean your eye and get the obstruction out in a big hurry. So we just pop one of those in ourselves. It wouldn't be a bad idea for them to include that, I think, because being able to irrigate the eye properly is difficult without one. Other items they've got here is a CPR kit, mostly gloves and a face mask. Some adhesive tape for putting your bandages together and keeping them in place. More bandages at the top there, and some more wound dressings at the top. So a fairly comprehensive set of bandages for binding up wounds. And on this end you have a number of self-adhesive dressings for various situations, a number of different sizes, and a few different types. So you've got a few different ones in there. You have some eye pads here as well. If you do get an eye injury, you can then put a bandage over your eye very easily. So all in all, this is a pretty good comprehensive set. It's going to cover most things you're going to encounter, and of course being first on the scene to any kind of accident means that you could potentially save somebody's life. And I guess it's good to remember that having one of these on board in your car is not just useful for you and your own travelling companions. If you come across somebody who's been involved in an accident or has injured themselves and needs assistance, it's very handy to have something like this available, and you could potentially save someone's life. So for an investment of a couple of $100, we figure it's worthwhile carrying these. And you can of course put your own kit together, but this is so comprehensive. It comes with all the information you need and pretty much all the gear you're going to need when you're out in the bush. And as an additional little extra that came with the kit, they included some hand sanitizer and a couple of things that we will add to it ourselves. This won't actually fit in the kit, it's a little bit big, but this is spray-on bandage. This thing is brilliant. I've used this time and time again on quite large wounds, quite small wounds. It stings like hell when you first put it on, but it produces a waterproof barrier and ensures that nothing is going to get into the wound. I had a very large cut on the side of my leg once when I was up at Cleaverville camping. I was moving the boat trailer and it slipped, and one sharp edge of the trailer came right down my calf and caused a very large wound. And having this available to spray over it once I'd cleaned it all up was very, very handy, because we were wandering around in the sea, we were wandering around in mangroves, and there was no way I wanted to get muck into that wound. So using this stuff to spray on the wound and give it a watertight seal was absolutely brilliant. I hope you found this video interesting and useful, and if you decide to buy these, as I say, we are not sponsored, we get nothing for telling you about it, we purchased it ourselves, but the reason I'm telling you about it is because I think it's a good set and it's probably worth spending the money on to have something that's very comprehensive. They are an Aussie family business as well, so you're supporting local people when you buy it, and that's always a good thing too.